All right, here we are, Carl.
How's it going, man?
Great, you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming. It's been in the making, this podcast for a while now.
It's been a process, man. There's been some obstacles on the way.
Yeah, I know.
The month I was meant to come on ended up being 4 funerals in the space of 3 weeks, which was pretty hectic. So, But yeah, thank you for the patience. It was good to finally get here.
Worth the wait, I hope. We'll figure that out.
And then you lost one man to a tooth today as well.
Yeah, the tooth fairy was bad today. I don't know. She stole a tooth from my co-host, Mattis. For everybody's listening who's missing Mattis, he's not here with us. He had to throw in the towel or put it in the mouth at least.
Yeah, exactly.
So unfortunate, but still we're here. You're here. That's the most important thing.
There we go. Yeah. Do another one with Mattis when he comes back.
Yeah,
he can speak again.
I think so. I think we have a lot more to speak about. I guess you can speak about everything in one day.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And this, I have to mention, this is my first podcast ever in English. So
I'm sure it's going to go swimmingly.
I hope so. We also do some reaction videos in English. So we we try to, what do you say? You get used to it. More used to it, the more you do it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because I was at least really good in English and the pronunciations and stuff like that. But it's like, well, I went to the States I was there like 3-4 weeks.
Okay.
So the first week was horrible. Next week was quite okay. And the third week you practically didn't think about it even. And I think on the fourth week you start almost dreaming and thinking in English.
It's funny how quickly you switch over as well. I'm in the process just now. My mother-in-law has recently moved into to live with myself, my wife, and my 2 kids, and she's from Chile originally, so she only speaks Swedish, Norwegian, and Spanish, obviously. Yeah. So I have to speak Norwegian / Swedish to include her into the conversation.
Yeah, of course.
But it's funny how you start to actually process a little bit more in that language when you're speaking it more as well, you know. So it's,
it's crazy.
But still, it's not at that point where I would indulge your listeners with my terrible squash.
But you speak a little bit.
A little bit. I get by.
Yeah. You understand everything though.
I understand more than what I speak, I would say.
Yeah. I guess it starts like
but
that.
But it's getting a bit embarrassing. It's like 10 years now in Norway, 7 years in Sweden prior to that, so it should be a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, but that's the curse of already speaking English, you know?
Yeah, everybody wants it. And well, not only that, I mean, I think there's a little bit of favoritism when it comes to speaking English too. I think people in general, not just Norwegians, but I've seen the Swedes do this as well. That I've got a really good Polish friend that I train Jiu-Jitsu with, and he's like, he made the point of saying, like, if you're from Poland, like, there's more of like necessity to speak the language as well. Like if you're from, say, Australia or like Scotland or wherever, and you've got a weird accent, like, people are more keen to kind of interact and the weirdness that is your accent, you know, as opposed to like if you're from Poland or Croatia or somewhere like that where your native tongue isn't English anyway.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so
and it's a different what do you call it, a language family or something like that, the Eastern European, because it's more difficult for them, I think, to learn English than it is for Scandinavians.
Oh yeah,
it's
like for sure. I mean, well, that's the thing, man. Everybody here in Scandinavia at a certain age is just, even older people now, it's like, their English is flawless. I mean, there's so much culture that streams in. They're just exposed to way more, you know, so everybody picks it up. Like my nieces and nephews, they've been speaking English since they were tiny, you know. It's like, it comes so naturally to them, just with all the movies, cartoons and stuff.
That's
like
exactly
that, you know?
it. You get it all day long with entertainment and stuff. And they already start learning it in kindergarten too.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, and my daughter and my sons, when he was in Barnehage, like, it's they've got, it's so international now. You've got a couple of kids that are coming from the UK, some from Australia. Like it's just a really big mix.
Yeah.
And managed to, lots of French as well, actually, and Barnahaga. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So my son actually, he's when he started watching YouTube and all that stuff for kids. And picked up English, Chinese.
Chinese,
yeah,
really?
he started answering us in.
Or?
Yes, he started answering us in Chinese.
No way.
Yeah, and my girlfriend actually know a few Chinese words, so she recognized them, and we started checking out what he's looking at, and it was like the Chinese and anime for kids or something like that.
All right,
probably
cool.
not anime.
Not Squid Games.
Not Squid Games.
Oh,
no.
where's that? That's Japanese actually. It's not Chinese, right?
No, I think Korean.
It's Korean.
Yeah,
there you go.
so.
Okay, yeah. I've not watched it yet, so I'm not.
You know, Korea is actually catching up on the entertainment stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
really?
I've actually watched a few
right.
Korean shows on Netflix, and both the reality shows and the drama or all the series. It's quite good. They're it's high quality, I think so. And you just have to get used to the. You know, every nation, every country, every people has their thing, their way of being. So it's like some things are weird for me. Just the tone and the way they choose to speak, or the respect they have between each other. Like you always respect the person who is older. And you can see it so obviously in their production and stuff. It's like their culture. So if you meet two Koreans you just figure out who's the oldest without even talking about it.
You can just see by the body language.
Every body language.
Themselves.
How you express yourself and everything. And one of them almost takes immediately a submissive stand. Like,
really?
Like really. So you have to respect. Even if you're only 1 year older, I have to like respect you and be like.
Well, it seems like that would have been more prevalent in the West as well. That there was that. Respect for your elders, you know, but it's, I mean, maybe not to the same degree, but it seems like that's kind of fallen away a little bit in our culture in the West.
I don't think we're doing us a favor by...
No, I don't think so either. But then again, you don't want to sit and listen to every single older person because there's some... Maybe some people that don't deserve your time.
Yeah, of course.
In society, and just by de facto of them getting to a certain age doesn't necessarily mean that we should hang on every single word they say, you know?
They might just be lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Real douchebags.
I mean, come on, you should have died ages ago. There's no way you should make it that stage.
But I have to admit, every time I talk to a senior person, it's quite fun. They have some stories and some views that you always can't relate to, but it's so cool to listen to it. Like World War II stories, for example. Like my favorite ones is like when I was younger, listening to my grandfathers and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because you like got the real story. And the local stories.
Oh yeah.
So that's really interesting, and they got some.
Oh man, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm joking around like in that regard, but that's one of my favorite things. One of the funerals that I was at, my grandmother passed away. Everything was in its right place. She was reached a very good age, had a beautiful life. But I'm really looking forward to one of my cousins that I hadn't met for years and years. It was a really nice, it was almost a beautiful celebration because I think we look at death really kind of strangely here in the West, you know? And when everything's in place and the person's had a long life, a good life, a full life, you know, it's a celebration and meeting all these cousins that I've had that I've not met and since I was basically a small kid, you know, and connecting with them and being able to like see that we all had this shared mutual experience of having this safe haven to go up to in the north of Scotland and be and listening to all these stories and their takes on life, like really wise, beautiful people, you know? And one of my cousins, he recorded secretly because otherwise it wouldn't have been so free-flowing, but just sat down with her and asking all these stories about because she would have lived through Nazi occupation in Belgium. for the Second World War, and like all the stories and this wealth of knowledge. Like there's so much to take away from that, you know. So it's
that's brilliant, actually.
Yeah, man. You know, we should really be documenting stuff like that more these days.
I'm a real sucker for those documentaries with the guys talking about when they stormed Normandy and stuff like that. You even got those who even joined the First and Second World War. Some of those too. I don't know if they're alive now, but a few years ago there was some of those alive still, and it's crazy stories. And as you said, you get some. That's the one thing when you we talked about we started to push the old people away almost a little bit. You don't live with them anymore. It's like not generational homes anymore. Because and I think maybe that's why we get a part of why we get a little bit distant relationship to death and stuff like that.
Definitely, because it's not there. It's not like a natural kind of process.
You don't see the process either, you know. So
I've seen this really nice project. I might get this wrong, but I think it's in. I can't remember if it's in the States or maybe Australia, but they were paying like younger students to go in, like school kids basically, to go into nursing homes and actually interact with the residents of these nursing homes. But they would be paid to go in and just interact, and you can see the joy that the elderly people have just been kind of. And I mean, no judgment on anyone that doesn't, because there's different scenarios. Someone that's maybe got some debilitating mental diseases, and they just can't, they don't have the time basically to look after that person. So it's a necessity to go into the home, and then just some assholes that just put them in the home anyway, you know. But you know, the joy that they get just from these interactions with these young kids, and the wealth of knowledge that these kids are all obviously getting as well, just being in there and interacting with them too.
I think I heard some about this, that you actually increase the cognitive abilities both of the young and the old one when you let them interact together. It's like separating the kindergarten kids from the older one on the nursing home. It's like maybe not a very good idea. Of course, you can't put them together and just let them be there.
But look after them. Here's some matches, some gasoline over in the corner. Now play well. We'll be back with some soup at 12 o'clock.
With some pudding.
Exactly.
Who would be worse, do you think? The 90 years old or the 7 years old, 6 years old?
I don't know, man. Judging with my kids, I think they would be causing a ruckus.
I always enjoyed being with the elderly when I was young. I remember that just because of the stories and the experience they have. And everything.
I didn't realize that I lost my other grandmother last year as well. And it wasn't until they had passed I just realized how lucky I was. And speaking with other friends, you know, at the time, just processing whatever, and really kind of taking stock of how lucky I was to have like two really beautiful connections with both grandmothers, because one, on my mother's side, my mum was a single mother, so I spent a lot of time with her when my mother would be working, and suddenly all those memories came kind of flooding back to me, you know. And then the same with my grandmother as well. I would go and she would take me to visit my father, who was living in different parts of Europe at different periods, and she would take me over and we'd have these journeys together.
Well, that's cool.
And it's like always coming back. But you know, everybody's not so lucky. I mean, every family's going to be different, you know. And if your parents don't have a good connection with their parents, then it's obviously going to make it difficult for you to connect with them as like a small kid, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, and then ages and stuff like that. They might be a little bit too older to be able to actually go out and play. So I feel really fortunate that both my children have grandparents on all sides that are able-bodied and like really still have that energy to go out and play with them and interact, and it's not just sitting around with them, which there's benefits to sitting around and telling them stories as well. But
that's perfect. It's so good. Then they get to meet them. Yeah, that's so cool. We're from. You're from Scotland.
From Scotland originally, so just outside of Glasgow. All my family are from Glasgow, and I grew up outside, just in a small town. Actually, there's a small town outside Glasgow, and then a small village that's closer to that small town, and close to that small village is a small little place where I grew up.
It's just a small place called home, right?
Right.
I'm from a similar situation up north. I'm from almost the furthest northern part of Norway you can get.
Yeah, no way. So how did you end up down here in Oslo?
Yeah, my father lived there.
Okay.
Yeah, he moved when I was 3. Then he moved here to Oslo. So I met him almost every summer. So I went here on holiday in a month or two. in the school holidays, and then I started my education at school as electrician up in the north, but decided. And my stepfather actually had a company. I could work in there, in the nearest big place where there are companies. But I figured I wanted to like do something on my own. Don't be under his wings. I like felt like I want to push out a little bit more.
You gotta break free and become your own man.
Yeah, and in Oslo,
especially if you're in the same occupation and stuff like that.
Exactly. I've been working with my stepfather for many years prior to that too, like in every holiday, and if he needed help or weekend and stuff like that, I would join him. So I knew what it was about. But I wanted to try something another place, and a bigger place, of course, Oslo. I was 17 at the time when I moved here. Wanted to travel a bit, partying, the city, everything like that.
No, it was the same story for me, man. Like, just coming from a small town, I met an Australian girl. She was like, "Do you want to move to London?" I was like, "You had me at hello." So moved to London, then moved to Australia, and just never kind of looked back since then. And once you've been away for a while, it's hard to think back. Like, I wouldn't mind moving back to Scotland for like a year or so. Just my wife really wants both her children to have Scottish accents. They don't sound very Scottish right now. My daughter a little bit more, but my son does a terrible impersonation of me. I think anyway. I don't think he sounds like it. So maybe a year, but to move back, it just seems. Yeah, it doesn't seem like realistic in my head to move back permanently,
Yeah, now I can understand that. You made a life for yourself. And,
10 years here, I'm counting, so it's...
What time did you move from... How old were you when you moved from Scotland?
Oh, Jesus.
To England?
Yeah. I'm getting to that stage where I'm old, where I'm just making dates up that don't coincide.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
And then my wife, like, she'll hear me talking at like a dinner party or whatever, and she's like, "That's not accurate at all."
Yeah.
So this could be true or false, but I believe I was about 18, 19 when I moved away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
pre-20, so
pre-20,
and you moved to London.
Yeah, exactly. The plan was to move away from all my friends, save some money, because I wouldn't go out and party in London, because obviously there's nothing to do in London. So didn't save any money.
No, I can imagine.
Had to take a credit card out to be able to go to Australia.
Yeah.
So that was a learning curve for sure. Yeah.
How long were you in London?
Not that long, man. Maybe just under a year, like 8 months or something like that. Okay. And then it was time to move back. I think, if I recall, her visa was running out.
Oh, okay.
She never had a European visa, something like that. Oh. Yeah. Michelle, if you're listening, feel free to correct me.
Maybe you hear something from her.
Exactly.
That's not true.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to release this podcast. It's just going to be full of like...
Yeah. I have to put a disclaimer on it,
exactly.
Maybe. None of this is true, by the way. But that's for me too. I just talk a lot of bullshit. My last guest he's manager of a rock, Rock Inn in Oslo.
Yeah.
I've been hanging out at Rock Inn as long as they've been open.
Okay.
But in my head, I was there first time with my father when I was 14.
Okay.
And I've been telling this story forever.
Yeah.
And I actually got the guy, Erman. I've known him forever too, but only in that scenario on Rock Inn,
Yeah.
So I had him here.
Mm-hmm.
He also was in the Lego Masters, if you saw the Norwegian TV show Lego Masters.
Oh, what's that? Lego Masters?
Yeah, it's crazy. They get like grown-ups who like Lego.
Okay.
They put a big TV show on it.
So he's like a master builder?
Yes, he actually is. Yeah, he's
for all those Lego movie fans out there. Yeah.
He's like a big guy who worked as a bouncer, doorman there, and then he like climbed the ladder, and he's the manager now. And Lego is his thing. It's so cool. But it's so fascinating to watch what you can create with those things.
Oh, dude, I love it. I'm just waiting for my daughter to get into it now, because my son's just moved past that Lego phase, and now I'm like, no, I don't get.
But you'll get back to that.
I'm kind of hoping he does.
Yeah. You got so much stuff now with the Technics and all that stuff. We just had we didn't have anything else. It's just basic Legos. And me and my son was building Legos. He asked if I wanted to come to his room, building Legos and stuff like that. And I'm building, I'm having so much fun, we're having so much fun. But he got tired after 5 minutes and left. I didn't even notice. I sat there for like 25 minutes.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, like I was alone.
That's the status quo. If you start a Lego project with your kids, there's only one person finishing that.
I know.
It's like building IKEA with your wife. Like, you might start it together, but there's no way you're both finishing it together.
No, probably not. If you do, she's a keeper, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, but my point with Adman, the Lego Master guy, and from Rockin, he corrected me because he remembered. Rockin didn't even open when I was 14. He's like full of I call bullshit.
Yeah.
God damn it! And then I realized there was another place before that. That I used to went to. That I completely forgot. So as you say, you make up stuff in your mind.
Oh man, completely. Like that's why they say like the most like unreliable evidence is eyewitness evidence.
Yeah.
Especially in like these stressful kind of situations. Like if something's happened, you know, people remember shit completely different, you know?
Yeah.
And you've got like you can ask 5 different people who are at the same event and they'll remember it completely different.
Yeah.
And these small things like that situation with the club, you know, like the more you've been telling that story for so long, it just solidifies in your mind as that's what happened, when in reality it was like...
No, it wasn't. I was way off. I was way off. But it's good him to come and correct me though. So But my girlfriend asked me. I've been living in the same house for like 15 years or something. What's the color on the walls in our bedroom? Like a year ago, she asked me. And we never done anything there. You know, I was like, I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell her. I had to guess. Okay, my eyes are usually closed when I'm in the bedroom. Usually, sometimes. But just like the memory, you can't trust it at all.
No, not at all. There's this spiritual guy that I wouldn't say spiritual, more like kind of occultist. Is a guy called Robert Anton Wilson. Really interesting guy, man. More like into like exploring the mind. He's got lots of these, lots of books that he's written over the years. I think he's passed away now. But he would test the audience. Just his whole thing was that we all have our own reality tunnel that we view the world through, right? And all our conditioning up to that point dictates that our reality tunnel is going to be different. So I'm going to perceive this room differently from you, just on the basis of how I've been conditioned over the course of my life and the way you've been conditioned. And he does an experiment where when he would do these live talking events, and he would ask the audience to describe the building in which they're all inhabiting at that particular moment, and they've all just been outside it, you know, and none of them would get it right because they've all got this like separate, they would get it different from each other, and most of them wouldn't get it right because we're processing so much at the same time, you know, that it's like we interpret in our own way, and
we do. That's fascinating. And if you're in a stressed situation,
even more so, you know.
You can add that to it. I try to remember back to stuff that happened to me. I was stressed, even though it's like a year ago or 10 years ago. It's like a blur. It's almost like a dream. Do
you remember your childhood very well?
No.
Me neither, man.
I remember like flashes of it.
I
couldn't. Of course, I know what happened to me in the childhood for the most part, I guess, and I know my routines and everything. Like I know what I did, but it's hard for me to like just close my eyes and try to re-watch it or something. If that's what you mean, it's almost impossible.
My wife she's like, I don't know if she's got like a photographic memory or whatever, but she'll be able to, same with dreams, she'll come out of a dream, she'll just be able to tell you like exactly what's happened. But she'll remember these things from when she was 3 years old, and I was like, I got no memories from that. Maybe like some like a fragrance of a memory. It's like just, you can't quite put my finger on it, but she's like details, and then this happened and that happened, and as her mum's, as I said, just living with her right now, she'll like confirm that memory, obviously.
It must be nice. I can't do that at all. I can barely remember what I did last week.
No.
It's but I get some parts of your childhood is imprinted, I think. But no, kudos to those who can actually remember. I have no idea. I have no idea. And you went to Australia. What happened in Australia?
What didn't happen in Australia?
Yeah.
It's well, I started off in Melbourne.
Yeah.
That's where she was from, or she was from a place called Ballarat, and then we subsequently moved straight into Melbourne because Ballarat is not much happening there.
Oh, it's a small place too.
Very small place.
You ever been to Australia before?
No, that was the first time. And and lived in Melbourne for a while. Things never worked out with her, so started backpacking at that point, traveling all around. It's like I wasn't very good at backpacking at that point in time.
Oh, good in backpacking.
Like in the normal sense, like being able to like live very cheaply. Like I was like what would you call it? Like a luxurious like backpacker.
High maintenance.
Yeah, very high maintenance backpacker. Like so, I was always broke, and but I had some interesting experiences.
Yeah.
Learned how to at that time in Australia, they were in need of rural workers, so people that would work on farms picking fruit, for example, and stuff like that. So I guess it was just a shortage of labour workers. So what they done is, if you done 3 months of work, then you could extend your visa for an extra year as a backpacker.
Really?
So I done that, and I get really lucky. I met this Israeli guy who was on a quest to make these branded oranges. So he taught me how to splice these orange trees. So it was like an orange plantation, and basically I would go up and cut half of a tree off, and then of the orange tree, and then grow a different variety of orange off it, because he wanted to perfect the orange. Really eccentric guy, but I just got to drive around on a quad bike, like a 4-wheeler, and just it was the best, man.
Yeah, that's
getting
perfect.
paid $20 an hour, spending it all instantly.
Yeah, of course, but that's perfect for backpackers.
Oh, that was good, man.
Like
everybody else is like laboring hard in the heat. I was just driving around and eating oranges and cutting trees. There was some downsides. Imagine like orange plantation, just trees as far as the eyes can see.
Yeah.
And we would basically cut the trees off. You'd have to incubate the seedling that would grow out of that. So you have to put it in a brown paper bag. Yeah. And we're in Australia, man, and spiders like heat.
I know.
So that job, you had to go up and take the brown paper bag off, and every second tree there'd be a huntsman spider in it. So
I've seen photos of
man, they're like as big as a hand, you know. So you're like doing that and then just running away. It was intense. That was the only downside to that job, you know.
I'm gonna say what every guy says. You know, I'm not afraid of spiders.
Yeah, okay. Wait till you see one of those bad boys, man. I challenge anyone to stand in the face of one of them.
No, great. I would be a little bitch.
Oh man, I seen one of these videos the other day when you're talking about doing these just commentary video on weird videos.
Yeah.
There's so much content out now. It's like you could never. It's never ending. But there was a guy in Australia, and he was taking like an aerosol can. I'm not sure what was in it, but he was just spraying under a door handle in the car, and then just spraying, and then he's just like, wait for it, and then a spider, the size of my hand, creeps, dude.
Under the handle
I
of
don't
the car.
want to live in a country where I need to like spray the handle of my car when I'm coming out in the morning. One, I'm not going to remember to do it, so I'm getting bitten every day of the week, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too, because, you know, I don't usually have a problem with this, but I live in Norway. I'm from Norway.
Those are reasonable spiders.
Yeah, they're reasonable. We have only reasonable spiders. And all the other bugs too, there's like not a big issue with those snakes or anything.
Well, it's like ticks. Ticks are the worst thing that you can work.
Ticks, that bothers me. That's really annoying, and I can't believe I never had a tick before. Never? No, and I picked like 15 of them from my dogs and cats every day. And go with them in the forest, everything. But I never had one. My girlfriend never had one, and my kid never had one. And that's crazy. We don't use any like spray or something.
Yeah. My niece got one a couple of years ago, pretty bad, and she ended up in hospital as well.
Wow.
You know,
infection or some.
She had a reaction to it. So it was a tick, and they never noticed the tick. And then she ended up in hospital because of it as well. Jesus. Yeah, man, it's scary stuff, and it's so small like that as well. Well, that's the weird thing about the spiders in Australia. The big ones you don't really need to worry about. Like those big ones, they bite you. nothing's going to happen. It's going to throb. It's going to be sore for hours, you know. But it's the small ones you need to worry about. All the, what do you call them? The redback spiders.
Oh, really?
They're teeny tiny, man, and those are the ones that will kill you, you know.
That's so crazy, you know, because instinctively you see the big one.
Wow.
But you can almost control them. You know where they are. You see them. You
until you go to sleep.
Yeah, okay, that's true. God damn it. Shit, how do you live like that? I would be a mess.
It's not. I mean, it's not so commonplace. Like the first one I seen, my girlfriend at the time, she just screamed and ran out of the toilet, and I had to go in and do the manly thing.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and it was huge, man. And I was like, how do you even catch? I don't even have, normally, like over here in Scotland, where I was coming from at the time, you grab like a mug or whatever and you got him. And what are you going to do with that? You need like a frying pan or something to catch it.
With a broomstick or something. You just have to fend it off.
I'm not ashamed to say, man, that spider did not make it out alive. I'm sorry, any vegans listening, but it was me or him. He had to go.
I understand.
He had to go.
You have to fend for yourself, man. You have to protect your girlfriend.
Exactly.
Be the man. Oh no. Oh my God. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've never been to Australia, but just like flipping your shoes every time you need to put them on the toilet ring, stuff like that. You can just you have to check everything.
Dude, constantly.
Yeah, or you don't have to, but you can risk it.
In the cities, it's not that bad. But you're still going to get it every now and again. But as soon as you go out to the middle of nowhere, which is like the majority of Australia is like the middle of nowhere, then that's you just need to coexist with them, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you do. There are places there is even worse. Like you got predators, lions, right? Outside your doorstep.
For sure.
You have to carry water around.
I'm not going to go and live there either.
No. I bet it's nice there, but people get used to stuff like that. I guess they don't think about it.
You grow up with it. You grow up with it, so it's like it's not going to be.
You think
anything
Australians
that phases you so much?
Do Australians like think about this much? But I have to check my shoes. The spiders.
I think they secretly like it that the world sees them as hard bastards. You know, they're like
hard bastards.
They don't make a big deal about it. You get Steve Irwin and his day petting them and stuff like that.
Danger.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Irwin, he was perfect.
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul.
We lost a good one there.
Yeah, we did. But they are taking good care of his heritage. His kids.
His son looks like a champ, man. He looks like a nice little dude, you know?
Yeah,
like double to him and just got that same enthusiastic kind of personality.
Seen him on the shows, TV shows and stuff like that. He shows the animals to Jimmy Fallon or something, I think. He's great.
Yeah, that's right.
He's so cool. Did you travel a lot in Australia? You backpacking, you said. It was
pretty much, man. I got a lot of ground covered, considered I was always broke. Never So I got up to see Ayers Rock in the middle. Cool. Went all the way up to Darwin, all up the East Coast. Done some hitchhiking. First time I've ever done hitchhiking.
What's that?
Hitchhiking, so sticking your thumb out and asking.
Hitchhiking.
That's we've came like a good few minutes into the podcast, and that's the first misunderstanding of the Scottish accent. So you're doing well so far.
Mattis thought you were from Canada. Remember? You're Canadian.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to punch him.
Yeah.
I knew you wasn't from Canada at least. I wasn't sure about Scotland, but
I get Australian a lot, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Have you spoke to an Australian before?
Have you spoken to a Canadian before? It's not quite similar to Scottish.
Exactly. So anyway, hitchhiking. So I was so broke at one point. So the reason why I ended up in Sweden is I met a Swedish girl. As you do in Australia, you can't not meet a Swedish girl.
No.
She really wanted to go to Byron Bay, so we went up to Byron Bay. But I never told her my financial situation was I had no money, so everything I had went on that, and then I dropped her off at Sydney Airport. And I had $5 to my name, and I had already burnt all my bridges. Like, if I had rang home again, I think I could have squeezed some more money out of my parents, but I'd already done it. So I was like, I'm not doing it again, man. It's time to man up. Like, let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So my plan was jump on a train in Sydney Central Station and see how far I can get out. I didn't even pick a reasonable direction. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll get on this one. Well, Took it to the end and then just stood by the side of the road and started hitchhiking. And those 2 weeks I spent doing that were like the best I've ever had. And it really kind of installed in me just... like a confidence and the kindness of people.
Yeah.
Like it was like everybody I met was just so giving and so welcoming, and like I was sitting outside this gas station, a little bit past it because you shouldn't do it in the station. Like I started to learn where I was going to get picked up most, you know, picked up as like a hooker on the side of the road. So I was sitting there with really my shorts on, just waiting to see what would happen. But this family, they drove past and they waved, and then I seen they drove away, and then they came back and they were like, look, we only live up the road, so there's no point in us giving you a lift, but here's a bag of some water, some chips, some other stuff, a couple of sandwiches and stuff, and just wanted to give you this. Like, thank you, man. Then met this family with one of their kids was autistic, and had maybe like 6-hour journey with them, just getting to know them and what they were doing, and it was good times, man. It's really, really fun just interacting with people. This guy picked me up on his way back from the Bottle, which is like the Vin Monopole. It's just get bottle shops everywhere, they call it.
Oh, okay.
They've actually got, I don't know if you've noticed, but they've got drive-through bottle shops in Australia. So the only thing they sell is booze, and it's a drive-through.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that, to me, that seems like you're enabling drunk driving.
Maybe a little bit,
just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they've got the mix, like they had mixed cans in Australia for like way before, like mixed alcohol drinks. So like Jack and Coke, you could just buy it in a can like you would a beer.
Yeah, because that's kind of a new thing.
That's a new thing over here.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not so new now. It's been going for a while, but this was like a good 15, 20, almost 20 years ago, you know, so they were ahead of the curve.
I would never see that here.
Yeah, they were innovators when it comes to boozing and driving.
Yeah, you gotta do something.
So
you gotta pick something.
this guy drives past and he picks me up and he's just like drinking a beer and he hands me one, and then he's clearly drunk, but I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in the car with him. Let's see how this goes, you know?
Yeah.
And just like typical old kind of Aussie guy,
cool.
just like very stereotypical, but it was good times, man. That was easily the best few weeks I spent in Australia, for sure.
That's so cool. I hear people say that actually did the hitchhiking and backpacking, stuff like that, over extended periods of time though. It's one of the best periods of their lives, because you meet people you never would have met before, and it takes a person, maybe a special person, to stop for a hitchhiker, and it takes a special person to be the hitchhiker too, exactly. I guess. There's like a trust there.
Oh no, for sure, man. For sure. I would not like my son and daughter doing it. But the best, like, that's me. I'm like, that's the best time I had, and I'm like, but I still don't want my kids doing it, you know?
That's cool. I did it when I was young, but it's like 10 kilometers from where I live to the shop. So if I didn't bother, normally I'd take the bicycle and I could pick up bottles and get money for them, and then I had enough for some ice cream and a Coke or something. So I just bring an empty bag, put on my bike, 10 kilometers. I always had enough bottles to get something. But
I remember those days. We had the same in Scotland. So you'd have these glass bottles. We call it ginger in Scotland. So it's just basically any kind of Bruce. And they used to get 20 pence back for every bottle that you take.
Yeah, that's cool. So just gather them up. Like always clean next to our road. You got some porn magazines too, always. There was like bottles and porn magazines.
There you go.
Yeah, never had to buy that in my life. I don't know what's the thing in the 80s and 90s. Were people reading porn magazines in the cars and just throwing them out the window when they were done? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But you want to avoid the ones with the sticky pages. I just know that much.
Yeah, absolutely. We learned the hard way there.
There's definitely pros and cons to used pornos.
Maybe it's better now with the internet stuff.
Yeah, but, who knows, man? Who knows?
If I didn't want to take my bike, I would like hitchhike, and my parents would be so mad because they, of course.
Would you show them the articles from the porn mag on the way back?
Yeah, of course. I only read the articles though. So,
of course.
Educational purposes only.
Yeah.
Well, it was educational. You had such good fantasy back then. Remember still pictures? You had to do everything with still pictures, magazines, stuff like that. Now you can pick and choose whatever you want, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
You can say. What brought you to Sweden? It was a girl then. I
Yeah,
guess.
so she buggered off, left me to like travel around. I mean, luckily for me, I hadn't seen this film that would just come out at that time, which is called Wolf Creek, which is all about a crazy psychopath that killed lots of people. A guy called, it was based on a guy called Ivan Milat, who's a real guy who made like 30 or 40 people, I think it's between 30 and 40 people, just made them disappear. And this movie is all about them like hitchhiking and in the middle of nowhere in Australia, you know.
I think I know this movie.
Yeah,
I might do
it's a good movie, man.
Yeah,
It's very suspenseful. It's good stuff. So I hitchhiked before that anyway. So I survived that and managed to save up a little bit of money. And then headed off to Sweden after that. So that was the next adventure. Wasn't really in a space where I wanted to go back home yet. Wanted to keep on traveling.
Yeah. You didn't miss home at all. Was it like evenings for you?
No, traveling just felt right, man. Traveling felt good, you know. And I was still in like a process of kind of discovering who you are. I mean, at that age, I feel like from 18 to 25, 20, 26, you're really kind of discovering who you are and figuring out just through the process of who you're going to be, you know, from adventure to adventure.
And that's traveling alone too. You didn't go with a lot of friends. And,
no, I was on my own, man. Yeah, pretty much. So when I came to Sweden, I was like, oh, God, this is going to be so unique. There's probably going to be, I'm going to be the only Scottish person in Sweden. I'm telling you, like this is going to be pretty cool. And then I got a job working in a Scottish bar and met 4 other Scottish people within the first week. I was like, I'm not so special.
If you go into the bar business in Oslo, you meet a lot of English people in Scottish bars.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
I know,
for sure.
I met a few.
Yeah.
That's fun. Did you know anything about Sweden or Scandinavia before you?
Not really, man. Like not that much. No, there was not much going on like in my catalogue of my wealth of knowledge of Swedish culture. No. So it was basically like a big learning process. The first year was kind of difficult, mainly just because it was it was difficult to kind of acclimatize into the culture. Because I found it a little bit difficult to get to know people, and then I discovered somewhere down the line that it was actually my own fault because I was just working in a Scottish bar, hanging out with other expats, and not really trying to integrate in. Like I wasn't trying to learn the language, I wasn't doing anything about it, and then I made a conscious decision I was going to because in that you wouldn't know it until you're in that expat kind of community, but it can be. Not always, but it can be quite negative and people just missing home and just complaining. It's easy to complain about the things that are missing and stuff like that, you know? So I made a conscious decision. I was like, I'm going to get a job in a Swedish bar. I'm going to try and learn Swedish and hang out more with more Swedish friends. Yeah. And after I'd done that, it was the start of like 6 magical years in Stockholm. Like I had the best time, just like working, traveling, going away in different adventures, going to different places, and having that as a base, you know. In Stockholm, and
it's beautiful,
and it's the same as Oslo. Stockholm in the summertime, it's just it's a magical place, man. Scandinavia and bigger cities when the summertime comes around, because you endure so much. In the winter, it's kind of similar in Scotland. Like we've got a fair share of crappy weather, but
I can imagine.
It's not that same vibe. Like you can feel that real, like it's like a societal thing. Like everybody's so stoked for the summer. Everybody's out in parks. Like it's
the utepils.
Yeah,
it's like it's a huge thing. You never enjoy yourself more than if you're sitting with a few buddies. It's summer afternoon, evening with an utepils. That's a bear outside. If we got some English listeners here. It's magical. I think the fact that we don't get so much summer, so much good weather as you do in Scotland.
This is the biggest factor for sure. It's not like we get a lot of summer either, you know, but I don't think the winters are as harsh depending on where you're located in Scotland. And Glasgow's quite southern city, so it's in terms of where it's located in Scotland. So it's not like it's not as big a contrast. So you don't get people vibing on it as much as they do over here. So anyway, it was like just magical time in Stockholm. It was just yeah, no responsibilities, working as a bartender and just sleeping late in the evening or in the afternoon, and
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, man, it was good times, times, and I was lucky enough to meet really good people. I ended up working in some really nice places. Yeah, so that was that little period there, and then somewhere along the line, I get tired of the near alcoholism that goes hand in hand with working as a bartender.
You have to watch out.
Oh man, yeah, I'm from Scotland as well, you know. It's like there's
you have the culture for
yeah, man, like you need to watch it at a certain point. So I went through like I had a bit of a realization that I wasn't really comfortable unless I was drinking, and I thought that was kind of strange, and I hadn't contemplated that before, mainly because I was mostly drunk most of the time. Maybe there wasn't time to contemplate it. So maybe it was one really bad hangover, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't feel like comfortable in social settings unless I've had a couple of drinks. Like, that's not a good sign, man. Like, something needs to happen. So then I went for the cliche trip to India.
Thailand, you did?
India.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to go find myself, and yeah, I don't know if I found myself, but I found something at least anyway, you know.
You wrote a song about it?
Not yet. It's a work in process. I think the Beatles pretty much covered it. They had their little Indian adventure with the Maharaji, and
they did,
and wrote some good songs about it. With some LSD influence in there too. Found the guru, found some LSD, found themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Made some good music afterwards.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
LSD. I actually, when I was younger, I like to try different new music. Not new, but music I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
Usually like rock, metal, stuff like that.
Okay.
And you know, when you're looking at the CDs and vinyls and stuff like that, and I found a band that looked really cool, Grateful Dead.
Okay,
try to listen.
Jerry Garcia and the gang.
I couldn't figure it out. Not even close.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was about until I read a little bit more, and I figured, okay, you actually have to be on acid to understand this music.
So a friend of mine that trains Jiu-Jitsu is a really nice guy.
Yeah.
I'll leave his name out. Maybe he doesn't want to know this story being out here. But he came in with a swanky new gi. So you've got it's like the kimono that you wear in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And on the back, there's that iconic Grateful Dead logo. So it's like a skull. I think most people would recognize it. It's red and white skull with like some lightning coming through it as well. And I was like, cool gi, man. I wouldn't have imagined you'd be wearing that. And he's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, well, you know, like the Grateful Dead. And he's like, the Grateful who? And I'm like, that's who it is. So he just picked it because it looks
really
pretty cool, you know. And I was like, well, there's this band called the Grateful Dead, and they were part of like this whole movement in the States during the counterculture movement in the 60s. And basically, have you ever heard of the electric Kool-Aid acid test, which is basically the Grateful Dead would go touring from town to town, and other people that had some good connections would hand out LSD and the Kool-Aids, basically. So everybody's drinking from this Kool-Aid, and the test was if you could stay there with the Grateful Dead, and they would play for like from 6 to 12 hours at a time, and that's the whole process, man. So I think it's to understand the Dead, you need to take that voyage inside the mind as well, you know.
That's what I heard. I never tried it though. I didn't go that path. I didn't. It's funny with the gi thing, because you would figure it's like if you know, you know, with the logo and stuff like that. But he had no idea.
He had no idea, man. But he's a real nice guy. So he was like, okay, cool. All right, I guess I know now.
What do you call deadheads?
Deadheads, yeah.
That's Grateful Dead.
I mean, that was the thing. If you wanted to score some LSD in the 70s, 80s, and in the States, like you would go to a Grateful Dead concert, and you would find your way.
Crazy. I think that's a generation past me, my father's generation maybe. The Grateful Dead 70s.
Yeah, they would have been. They were in the
60s, 70s.
Late 60s. So I mean, their whole movement. So there's two factions in that movement. You had a guy called Timothy Leary, who was a Harvard psychologist, the head of the psychology department. in Harvard, and basically him and a few other of the faculty of Harvard discovered LSD, and they were doing lots of research on it and on how it could be best used for trauma, for exploring consciousness. So they went a more kind of traditional Eastern path where they were looking at Taoism, Buddhism, and the relation to these altered states and meditative states as well. And then you had another faction that were going around, and that was the Grateful Dead, and a guy called Ken Kesey. So Ken Kesey was... he's the guy who wrote the book One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
With the movie Jack Nicholson. So that was the first book he ever wrote. And he was exposed to LSD in San Francisco, and he got together with the Grateful Dead. And there's a really interesting book called Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, written by a guy called Tom Wolfe. Really fascinating book, and it's all about how they were trying to expose people. So I mean, essentially, what they were trying to do is wake up that generation to all the nonsense that was going on at the time, the Vietnam War, everything else that's going on, the segregation. I mean, powerful time. Yeah. Powerful people getting shot right, left, and center, you know. Martin Luther King saying goodbye, Kennedy, you know.
Stuff happened.
Yeah, man. It was like in that little, like, the space of that kind of decade and a half, like, a lot went down, you know.
Didn't you get the war on drugs about this?
That was Reagan. When Reagan came in, they were like the war on drugs, which is just nonsense. I mean, it's like really interesting to see that, and Norway being one of the more kind of ahead of the curve in the sense of lots of people fighting politically for decriminalization of certain substances now, and you've got like ketamine clinics all over Oslo now for depression. So I think people are starting to wake up to like the beneficial aspects of what psychedelics can offer for trauma victims, for people with PTSD. I think what happened in the 60s was it was a bit too gun-ho. You know, you had these people that were just like pushing out there with no proper supervision. But I mean, prohibition just doesn't work. And all it does is drive it underground. If there's a market for something, which there clearly is, then you're essentially putting your arm in gangs and these syndicates around the world that are going to profiteer from the fact that prohibition is in place. So that, I mean, the war on drugs, I mean, it's so silly, you know.
I think they lost.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And as you said,
I can't remember who it said. I think it's a comic, like one of Joe Rogan's, in his circle of friends. I can't remember who, but he was like, he was saying, I'm going to butcher this now, but it was, I love the fact that there's a war on drugs, and the people on drugs are the ones winning the war.
Even funnier, you actually almost get... You're a pacifist if you do a lot of those drugs. Because the last thing you think about is violence and guns and stuff. You're like the happiest man alive. You love everyone.
Exactly.
So maybe it's the big, what do you call it? The war machine. They figured out if you do LSD and smoke pot, you're not inclined to go to war. You're not maybe all that into the military. Maybe
for sure, man, for sure. Like,
and
we've seen lots of people.
Man. Too many people too.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, lots of the early studies that were being done is people that are having the terminal illnesses. Yeah. And you could just, I mean, if you're interested at all, just go onto YouTube and Google terminal illness LSD patients, and you'll see the results of these people that are some older, some younger. They know they're going to die. They've got massive anxiety, obviously, as anyone would. And after one session, you see these people being interviewed, and they've just found peace with it, man.
It's
incredible. And they're happy. They're content to pass over. You know, just like the peace of mind that it gives them. We see it a lot at the Float Centre, where we've actually just started now. We've got 2 doctors that have moved from one clinic, and they're higher in one of our rooms at the Float Centre, and they've got their licenses to practice ketamine treatment for depression. Really? Yeah, so we're going to start to offer that, or they'll be offering it under our roof at the Float Centre now. And prior to that, we've always had connections to these other clinics in town. And you see some of them coming in. I had a guy who was in 2 months ago, And he came in and he was just so candid and open about the reality what he was going through. Clinical depression, SRIs, antidepressants weren't working for him. He was near suicidal. He was like, he told me before he tried the ketamine trial, he said if it didn't work, that was him, man. He was checking out. He couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, shit.
And he had one after the first session, he went back for the second, and he said everything changed. Everything changed for him. He just suddenly just had a new lease of life. All his friends, all his family seen it in him. And there he was sitting there just happy to be alive, genuinely happy to be alive, you know, and working through his stuff. And it's not, these substances, they're not panaceas. They're not the cure to everything that's going on. But if you can get someone on the right kind of platform, or maybe not platform, but in the right kind of set themselves up for success after this and include this and give them therapy afterwards and work with them, you can really save people's lives. So it's like it's a good thing that Norway is allowing that to happen. And hopefully in the next couple of years, you'll see psilocybin treatment being able to be offered legally as well.
I heard a lot about that too. It's so much stuff that you like consider is bad and consider as bad, but you can say that on guns too. It's you think guns is bad, but I only have positive experiences with guns, like hunting or just skeet shooting or whatever. You know, it's like the positive thing. It's a tool. And I guess you can relate that to this too. It doesn't mean that you're clinically depressed, you're suicidal. Just don't dump in your couch and do ketamine and you'll be fine. It's like with therapy and there's
with therapy with the right people there, with everything in place to set them up for success, basically. So it's not one pill and it cures everything. You do need to work from it, but at least it gives them that platform to be able to work with what they've got. And what it does is it's a disassociative. So it's like it allows the person to have a more objective view. Instead, I mean, we've all got our own dialogues and with our internal dialogues and stories that we tell ourselves, like we were talking about before, and we tell these stories over and over again. And if your stories get a negative kind of element to it, that's going to be what you're telling yourself on a daily basis, and it's so hard to break free from that. But when you're under the influence of that, then it gives you a more objective perspective, so you can look at it and go like, that's connected to this situation that happened in my past, or this trauma that was I can clearly see that this was not an okay for, I don't know, whatever the example, a small kid to experience, and this is clearly why I'm telling myself this story. And then you can stop telling yourself the story. You need to work to do that. It's probably going to come up again, but then you can at least in the moment try increasingly over the times that you keep retelling the story, you can replace it with something else, or at least recognize that's got nothing to do with what the reality of my situation is right now. You know,
you recognize it, as you said earlier. As we said, it's like if you can think or remember stuff, but you can do it wrong. And if you have a negative thing, a negative thought, you can create it to be your truth. It's the reality for you. As you said, you get caught in this. And it may not be true, but in your mind, in your head, you keep telling yourself that. And maybe you need to just get pulled away a little bit in good environments and stuff like that, and get the perspective of it. And it's really cool that you can see it now more and more, and you're experimenting with it, and maybe it could be helpful for a lot of people.
Oh, no, definitely. And you've even got it now. So it's only been private clinics so far, but now there's a hospital in Moss. So the same young guy that was in, he's actually doing it at one of these. It's just a regular hospital that is offering it just now, and that is fully supported by the government. So it's on, I forget what the name of it is, but the amount that you spend over the year, once you go over that, then it's taken care of by the state. So
I'm glad they're backing you up. I'd rather it taking a little more time, and you do it properly, and you do the research.
What makes sense as well, because if you've got a more happier, healthier society, it's going to be more productive. You're going to have more people going out there, starting up projects, doing whatever their job is and contributing to society, as opposed to people that are just like kind of hanging on. But I mean, mostly what antidepressants do are just keep people on like a numb, okay level where they're pretty much useless to, I wouldn't say useless to society, but they're useless for themselves because it doesn't give them enough that they can start to reintegrate back into society and living like a better life for themselves, you know?
I look at that too as almost like a tool to work with yourself. It's not like a cure. It's not supposed to do this for the rest of your life, but it's supposed to like make you able to see things from a different perspective. Exactly. But with the medication and stuff, a lot of people say they like feel like they're on zero, or you don't go up, you don't go down. A lot of your personality disappears, but in some cases, it might be worth it if you really have issues. You need to work out and stuff like that. But I would rather, I think, take the alternative.
I mean, why not? At least give it a shot. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Then you can just accept that. Okay, I can go back, because you can always go back to the SRIs. You can always go back to that and just have that like acceptance of what it is. But for the majority of people, it does work, so they don't have to go back to these antidepressants.
And I guess the experience and research will speak for itself when you do it a few years and get published. And I guess you have to look at it with really, the government is going to, they're not going to just like, okay, this is good, this is safe, this is cool. So I'm wondering what the future looks like about that. But that really brought us into your little hobby, your business, your passion, or what do you call it? It's your life.
It's my man cave.
Your man cave,
Not a man cave. It's like myself and my wife, we had been into meditation for quite some time. I'd been I guess like a couple of years we'd been meditating. And like anyone that gets into meditation and finds good results from themselves, you tend to end up being an evangelist for it, where you go around and just like stuffing it down people's throats, and then you learn, okay, that doesn't work for people. You know, you just like, one of the first like meditation retreats I'd done, I had like this, I found acceptance for a lot of things that I had been processing. One was a big fear of death, and I can't articulate why or how I found this acceptance, but I just found this acceptance for it, and it took it away. It's never come back since then.
That's the meditation.
And it's the meditation that's really worked with that. Like, I don't claim to know what happens afterwards, but I know I've got a peace of mind when it does come, you know.
Cool.
So obviously you want to share that with people, you know, and when you're in the meditation retreat, after I'd had this, I just spent like, I don't know, maybe a good hour when we were meant to be meditating going, this would be good for him, it'd be good for her, it'd be good for him. And then at a certain point at the end of the hour, I was like, I've just been thinking this whole time instead of actually doing the breathing technique that I'm meant to be doing, you know. So after a couple of years of a process of learning not to stuff it down people's throat and wait for them if they're intrigued, we were looking to start a business. We had thought, because we had both spent so much time working in service, maybe open up like a cafe, but I really didn't want to work with alcohol anymore. I'd been bartending for many years. My son had came along at that point, so I was looking for something to do. And Joe Rogan started talking about flotation tanks. As an avid Joe Rogan listener, and Joe Rogan says jump, and I say how high. I found myself in a float tank not too long after that in Barcelona, and just, I think it was a lot of people, it depends from person to person how deep they can go on the first one, but I think because I had been meditating so much, I just like, and it just synced with me straight away. Like, I went in, I had this like visuals of seeing like the stars above me and complete darkness. And so what a float tank is, for the listeners, it's a sense deprivation tank. So essentially, it's a big tank with 500 kilos of water, 500 kilos of salt dissolved into a lot of water, and basically that makes you buoyant like in the Dead Sea. It's kept at your body temperature, and after a while, because you can't feel your body, you have the similar kind of experience to what the ketamine gives you, which is a disassociation from the body. So it's like a shortcut to meditation. So we were like, well, this is what we've been looking for. Like we want to help expose more people to meditation. There's so many different meditation techniques out there. It can be a bit bewildering when you're trying to find a technique that works for you. So why not give people the opportunity to find this? There was no one else to do it in Oslo at that time. So So I came back from Barcelona. I was like, this is what I want to do, man. And then we put together a business plan, and no one would invest in it. So we had a plan for 4 float tanks and big space, and I really put a lot of effort into this business plan, but no one would give us a chance. When we were looking for locations, they're like, you want to do what? And it was me rocking up there, Scottish guy, like, yeah, I want to do these big saltwater tanks. And people were like, yeah, not here, you know? So it was a process to get it off the ground. Eventually, because we couldn't find any investment, we took some loans out. We bought 1 tank, and everybody said it was like financial suicide. And from there, we got started. My father was instrumental because he came up and done all the building work for us free. So we started with 1 tank. After a year, we got moved to the location where you came to visit with Mattis. And and from there we just built it up. So now we've got 3 tanks, and
well, that's the cool way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah. So like that first experience, I seen stars. It was amazing. I just loved it, and it was enough to know that this is what I wanted to do. Yeah. And luckily I have a supportive wife that, and the money that we did invest, the normal way to go would have been to put a down payment down for a house and take the sensible road, but she trusted in the vision that I had, and
that's cool. Yeah,
now we've been doing it for like 8 years. There's many more float centers that have opened up as a result of seeing that it was a good business opportunity to offer this to people as well. So that's what the little passion has been for the last 8 years.
Well, that's fun. That's fun. Yeah. You have to name drop Jørgen Olsen. He set us up to visit you, test it out. I also heard about this sense deprivation tanks from Rogan. So I heard a little bit about it, never checked it out until like randomly when Jørgen was here with us, he set us up to check out your place. It's Oslo Floating.
Oslo Floating, or Floating Oslo. Yeah.
Where's your little...
Our little safe haven from the busy city is in Majstad in Urania-Borgveien. 25, So we've been there for 7 years. And quite comfortable now. It's starting to, just because we never had investment over the years, it's always been like a process of little bit by little bit, get the new tank, we can afford the new tank.
It was a really great place. I immediately felt the atmosphere. Normally I think like atmosphere doesn't really do that much, but I got immediately when you get in there, you get like a warm, welcoming feeling and a good atmosphere. And of course, you're not a stressed out guy. You're a chill guy.
I'm pretty low maintenance and chill.
It was super easy. A good introduction we got to the how you do it. We never tested it before. It was like maybe not ideal for us that day. It was kind of, we had a lot on our plate. So me and Mattis went down to Oslo together, had a few beers, and we ate some Mexican food, had some shots.
Before you came in. That was right. Before. I remember now.
So we went.
That's not the way to do it, people. That's not the way to do it.
I was kind of afraid it would be like muddy waters in there with the Mexican food and shots before I go into the
We checked the tanks afterwards. Guys. It was fine. There was
no full sanitary.
It was okay.
So we went over to your place, so we got the introduction and we got to meet you and tested it out.
It's not the best way to do it. I mean, it's not like it'll be okay.
But it worked. It really worked. It was really cool. We were actually later afterwards. We went to a metal concert.
So, I remember you were going to that.
It was like an up and down day.
For sure. Sometimes I get that as well because on a really good day for me is I'm a terrible businessman. So like, I'm, like if no one books in, then I'm jumping in the tank, you know. So I'm addicted to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like I mentioned before, and I'll go from this transition of being in the tank and this kind of serene oneness, transcendental, everything's one, happy, like just like losing myself in the tank, and then I'll come out and I'll go straight to jiu-jitsu, and then it's like this full-on like hardcore sparring, trying to strangle each other.
So get a
like
little opposites.
Yeah, man, it's like this that contrast. So it's kind of similar from what you guys done. A few beers, then the tank, and then go to the mosh pit straight afterwards.
Yeah, that's almost somebody trying to kill you, actually.
Yeah. It can be, man, depending on the mosh pit for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you bring the mood from the tank with you into the jiu-jitsu training and stuff? Do you?
Yeah, on occasion. Yeah, for sure. Like definitely, it's it depends on what type of training it is. There's one of my professors, Alvaro, which is shout out to Alvaro. He does really great classes on lunch times and Fridays these days. So it's like just full on sparring. So you're just like you walk in and then it's just like going for the jugular straight away, you know. So it's like it's pretty intense. So like so those days I tend to switch over pretty quickly. Yeah. Into that pace and that environment. Other days it'll transcend over, you know, you'll go in and it's just more flowy because there's so many different ways that you can play on the mats, you know. So it's like you can, with some people that I roll with, it's very flowy, it's more about the movement and less pressure, and then you're maybe rolling with a bigger guy that's all just pressure, very aggressive style of play. Some people play off their back, so that would mean that you are trying to pass their guard and being a bit more aggressive from the top position and stuff as well. So there's lots of different ways to play, and then you've got different relationships with different people as well, you know. So you know like how they're gonna go. So it can be like a flowy kind of roll, but like at a very high pace. And then other ones is very slow. You're rolling with maybe like a white belt and you're trying to slowly kind of show them what's kind of possible. So like making mistakes for them, and then it could be like nice and calm, because you're like, it'll be a calm roll because you're in control basically. Like they're not going to be doing anything, and you can maybe leave an arm out that would be perfect for a kimura or for an armbar or something, and see if they notice it, you know. And if they don't notice it, like, okay, look what you missed. You could have went for this at this point, you know.
That's cool.
As a result, now you're in a triangle and you're tapping out. You know.
Do you ever get caught?
Oh yeah. Of course, man. Of course. There's always you've got to accept being the hammer, and you've got to accept being the nail. You know. Yeah. Sometimes you're that nail, and you just have to accept it and deal with the punishment. You know.
Yeah. How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu?
6.5 years, I think.
6.5 years.
Yeah.
You gone far? Yeah. You have a belt, I presume?
Yeah. I've got my purple belt. I got my purple belt last year.
Congratulations.
Pretty happy with that. Yeah. It's I would say that's my major passion. Okay. My goal would be to maybe teach one day. And just to keep on practicing. So next year, I'm hoping to go down to the Europeans, and so it's the biggest competition in Europe, basically, and compete there.
You're thinking about competing?
Oh yeah, I've been competing all the way through as well, but in local tournaments. So there's a few in Oslo, a few around Norway. You've got. So the trouble with the local tournaments is you tend to meet the same people in most of the tournaments.
You know them, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And I train at Frontline Academy, one of the best academies, in my opinion, and certainly Scandinavia and Europe as well. We're very blessed to have like just fantastic instructors that have been competing at the highest level. And have lineage all the way back to the origins of jiu-jitsu. Shout out to Teta. And he's our head professor. And so yeah, it's like, lost my chain of thought. I can't remember where I was going with that.
Oh, no problem.
Jiu-jitsu, it's my passion. Like that's basically all I want to do, man. Like I'm there 6 to 7 times a week, and I love it.
Wow,
it's
that's a passion.
It's so much fun, man. It's like you just want to, like, if I was forcing meditation on people, then that's not even close to what I do with jiu-jitsu. Like, give me any conversation about, like, we could be the most abstract, like, conversational subject away from jiu-jitsu, and I'll find a way to get it onto jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, of course.
So I've my close friends and family are probably sick to death of me talking about it, and my beautiful wife, she's so accommodating, like, and asks me every day how did practice go when she's got no interest
She
whatsoever.
doesn't do it herself.
I tried to get her into it, and she's like, she's not so keen. She came for a few classes, and then she came with a very good argument where she was like, well, let's walk through this. If I start and I end up really as passionate as you are, that means you're only going to get to train as half as much as you do now. And I was like, honey, that's a good point. You know, maybe one person to protect the family is enough, you know. At least until the kids are bigger, and then you should start your journey, you know.
Yeah. You practice with your kids too?
Yeah, both my kids train. My daughter's having a little spell where she's not been doing it recently, but my wife is very adamant that it's going to be something that she's forced to do. So I'm going to be the good cop. And Josephine, my wife, she's gonna make it a mandate that my daughter has to do, just because it's the best defense for any female, I feel like, as a martial art. Yeah,
because this is one of the few times you actually not necessarily are the underdog if you're the smaller person.
For sure, man. Like, if you YouTube, like, I was going to say teenage girl. That's not a good thing to YouTube. If you YouTube, like, girls kicking, BJJ kicking ass, then you'll just see all these teenage girls just kicking that.
Yeah. Be careful with the girls BJ.
Yeah. Remember that extra J on the end. One of my good friends, he's got his own podcast too, and James, also a purple belt and podcaster and stand-up comic.
Really?
He'd be a good guest for you, man. He's a good guy,
cool.
Australian fella. You can ask him about spiders.
I would definitely. You should set up us.
Yeah, for sure, man. And we were watching his daughter one day in class, and she made two little dudes cry, like, back to back after rolling with him. First one was a triangle, and he was just like, I think he was just like the disappointment of being manhandled off of this girl.
But I think you could be traumatized if you never...
A little bit. I think he was. He was. Me and him are just standing going like, oh, look at this. She's such a little ninja, you know? So I want that for my daughter too. And for my wife, it's really important to her that she knows how to protect herself. I mean, I feel like it's one of the best gifts you can give to your children is to, and it's that martial art that actually does what it says on the tin. Like, a smaller person can overcome a bigger person that's untrained. If both people are trained and the person's bigger, then that's a factor. Like, that's what we were talking about before. Like, I'm very much the nail in a lot of situations in the gym. So there's so many. I mean, we've got so many people training with us. That it's there's always someone bigger and badder, and if someone's trained like a big guy that gets the blue belt, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough for a lot of people, like, especially if you're like a smaller guy as well. But to an untrained person, like, you're gonna, like, they say in jiu-jitsu, you walk in as a guy or a girl thinking that you can do two things well. You walk into the gym the first time and you think you can drive and you think you can fight, and you'll leave with one of those intact, you know.
You still think you can drive.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because it's just that's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah, isn't that what Rogan says too when they discovered this? Like, oh no, I'm helpless.
Yeah, oh man,
you can kick and everything, but no, it doesn't.
Well, that's what the early UFC. I mean, the early UFC was martial art versus martial art. And what was the dominant force was wrestlers and jiu-jitsu, especially the first one with Royce Gracie. It was they ran amok basically because you can take them down. I mean, now when you're looking at contemporary UFC, obviously all these other martial arts have a validity to them, a big validity to them. You look at Izzy Adesanya, you know, he's like, I mean, his takedown, you need to develop a takedown defense if you're going to be a stand-up fighter, you know? So it's very much still a part of it, but you're seeing a lot less specialists in the sport, like just
you have to be all
out and
rounder.
out, like jiu-jitsu specialists, for example, you know?
Yeah, because and if you get into the UFC, you don't have the grappling, the ground game. You're real quick. It's over quick.
Yeah, man, you need to get it. I mean, a lot of guys, what they're doing now is they'll just focus on takedown defense, because a lot of these young, I mean, some of these young kids, like there's some kids that I train with at the gym where they've just, over the 6 years that I've been training now, I've seen them since they were like in the kids class. Like I was going to mention before, my son also trains as well, so I'm in there helping out a little bit sometimes, and you can see these kids just super calm and collected, but some of them are getting older now to the point where they can come and train with the adults. And there's these two brothers that are, I forget their names off the top of my head, but man, one of them is just taking that kind of teenage growth spurt where he's just suddenly get bigger. And he is trouble, man. And he's at such an early age, like he's just going to go on. So for someone that gets into MMA and later on, like, man, it's going to be a struggle to go back and actually implement grappling to like a kid like that's level. Like when he hits 20, he's off to the races, man. He's like, you won't catch up with him if you start training at 20 years old until maybe you're like, and then the thing is, if he keeps on training, he's just going to be constantly improving, so you'll never catch up with him. So like the only thing that you can do maybe at that point is work on some basics, implement it a little bit into your game, but really focus on the takedown defense.
Yeah, I see the takedown defense, how it's evolving the last few years in the UFC. It's crazy. It's crazy. And some guys are so good at it too. And they really progress. I can see it from game to game, or match to match, fight to fight. What do you call it?
It's, match you call it.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not sure why that is, and I'm too afraid to ask, so I'll just put it out there now. But I remember early on, I was asking some other people that were going to compete in jiu-jitsu, and I was like, you get a fight coming up? And they were like, no, it's a match. And I'm like, okay, I'm guessing it must be because like a fight is a fight, but and you would call it that in MMA as well. It's a matchup, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's a matchup.
Yeah,
actually, It's you're not.
I don't know why people are so adamant about it. No, it's not a fight. It's like, it kind of is as well, you know. It's like getting into semantics there.
It's like a controlled fight with, I don't know. No, a fight is a fight too, but I don't know. I think maybe I don't do jiu-jitsu. I have no experience in martial arts or anything really. I have experience in like playing football. I'm working out normal, but not like that. But I think it's the mental thing about it. You get maybe a little bit, as Rogan talks a lot about, you get the self-esteem. That means you're like less dangerous for other people almost, because you don't you're comfortable.
You're getting all that primal energy that we all walk around with, man. We've evolved over centuries to like dealing with these different techniques being like a part of our culture all the way through this. It's always been in us, you know, and being able to get that out, to express it, especially for young kids. Like I can't express enough how calm and collected some of these kids are, and so welcoming. Like I seen something the other day. I was watching my son train, and there was some older kids that were going to have the next class afterwards. And you see this kid walking in, he's a bit nervous and stuff. And this other kid just walks up to him, can't be older than 12, 13 max. Goes up to him, puts his arm around, is this your first day? Like over his shoulder. Yeah, man, so you can train with me and I'm going to like, I'll show you some stuff. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. No need to be nervous.
Wow.
All in Norwegian, of course, but just like I would never have had the confidence to do that at that age with like another peer that was walking in, and you know, and like that confidence to just go and reassure someone. It's like it's very gives you a lot of optimism for the future generations.
Yeah, it
you know?
does.
And I guess this is like, I think that's a generational thing as well. That kids are more comfortable in different settings like that these days. But I think there is something to be said for like that community in jiu-jitsu that is very welcoming, and it's not this meathead kind of like stereotype typical way that people would expect it to be. You know, it's like it's just a bunch of people that are like really passionate about the same thing and very welcoming and will strangle the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's the thing also, because you're not pounding each other in the head. You don't get brain injury. Of course, you can get injuries. Everybody gets injuries in different scenarios. But
well, I mean, most of the injuries come from the ego, you know, and that's another aspect of it, like the growth that you get mentally from it. Like you grow so much as a person, man. Like I've learned a lot about myself on those mats, and
I think maybe feeling helpless. When you're lying there, there's nothing you can do. There's a person there, might be smaller than you, younger than you, just better than you.
And just accepting that vulnerability, being comfortable in that vulnerability as well. And like most of the injuries do come, like I was going to mention, is through ego and not wanting to tap. Like the worst thing I've had is like, and I was really lucky, it never lasted too long, but I had my knee pop a little bit. And it was because a white belt was like bigger white belt, being quite aggressive, doing something that he's not actually allowed to do. And instead of me going like, hey buddy, you're not actually meant to, you can't move the knee in that way because it can be quite dangerous, you know. And instead of me doing that, I was like, I'm just going to fight out of this and I'll tell him afterwards. And then pop, my knee goes, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm such an idiot, you know.
That's reality.
Yeah, man, like you get way more injured from playing stuff like football and or whatever, you know. Like it's very safe to do when you're when your ego's in check and you know when to tap. I mean, you get a get out of jail free card whenever you want. You just tap them on the arm or wherever, and it's they'll let you go.
I'm almost surprised there's not more arm breaks and stuff like that in the UFC, but those guys are conditioned. They know when they're lost.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're
doing. You got some guys don't. You remember that?
Oh, there was that Tony Ferguson when Charles Oliveira he had his arm. And that was so hyperextended, man. Tony Ferguson's an absolute beast too. Yeah, he's not right in the head, man.
No,
like all respect, Tony.
But
but that's next level madness. Like
he's respect though.
To that.
A lot of respect.
I'm not gonna be rolling around with him. Put it that way, man.
No, absolutely not. There was not a fight, but a match. Was it a few weeks ago? I think there was some guy who got caught multiple times, but he got out of it. I don't remember the fight. It was UFC.
I'm trying to think back.
I was
break,
and now I'm starting to more appreciate the ground game too. You can see the
it's fun, man. When you see it at that high level, it's like it's really fun to watch, and especially when you start to understand the positions a little bit more, and when the person's in danger, what they need to do to get to safety.
Yeah, this takes time, but I knew nothing about this for about 3 for 3 years ago. I started. I watched stuff, but not like what do you say? I didn't watch it 2 weeks in a row. I started to know the positions. Okay, you're in a little bit of danger, how to get out of situations and how to avoid situations, stuff like that. You're starting to pinpoint those, you see those things. Gets much more interesting. And the thing that surprised me is how fast they are evolving now with the Jiu-Jitsu and the takedown, the defense and stuff like that. It goes so fast.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any other sport that you can look at. This is the 30th anniversary this year of the UFC, and I don't think you can look at any sport and see. I mean, most sports are always evolving to a certain extent, but like this is just astronomical. The difference in between, like even like going back, like if you take a fighter of like maybe 10 years ago, just an average run-of-the-mill, maybe not a champion, and like put them against someone that's run-of-the-mill these days. Like that younger guy that's just started, he's got like a hair lip, Rui Costa, I think he is. He lost his last one, he went in a bit gun-ho, but like you've got kids like him coming in, he's like 16, 17, you know, like they're growing up with it. It's just evolving so fast, man. It's nuts how it's grown.
Imagine how good the kid's going to be now.
Oh man, they're destroyers. They're
destroyers.
Yeah, man, you need to be careful who you pick fights with out there, man. There's secret assassins walking around all over the place.
And that's the good thing about those who are actually doing it on the mat every day. And you got this confidence, but you also got the knowledge of that everybody could be a killer.
That's the good thing about Jiu-Jitsu as well. Like I mean, I guess you can get it in other martial arts as well, but you can go 110%, and there's no real high likelihood of getting injured if you're sensible about it, you know. So you can really test all the techniques on a daily basis.
Not gonna give someone brain damage.
Like, man. Yeah.
That's
crazy. For sure.
That's crazy. Do you feel the meditation part can?
100%. For me, it's part of my mental health regime. Like my wife, I had said it to her, and now she's like, in the last years, she's really noticed, especially in the pandemic, the first month, she was like she could see how much it was affecting me not being able to train. One, because I'm just so passionate about it, but it is like, you come out from like after practice, and it's the same feeling I get when I come out after the tank or any kind of sitting practice. I'm clear in my mind. I'm calm. I'm relaxed. I'm content. There's just it's a movement meditation. It's the same as yoga is movement meditation as well. You know, it's like it's
movement meditation.
Yeah. Movement based meditation.
That's a different concept.
Well, I mean, it's applicable to anything. When I'm ever telling people about meditation, and they're like, I don't really meditate, and I'm like, well, you're Norwegian, you go hiking, and you go out in the nature. That's a meditation, man. You're out there, you've got no distractions, you're there, you're in the moment. You might be chatting with people and stuff like that, but you're still out there in a meditative practice. And I'm like, to my friends that skateboard, like, if you skate, man, what are you doing when you skate? You're not thinking about anything. You're 100% focused on what you're doing. Snowboarding, skiing, it's all the same. They're all movement meditations. Now, those techniques might not always allow you to have like deeper kind of traumas rise up to the surface, the same as you would maybe get from being in a meditation retreat for 10 days or whatever, you know. But it's still a meditative act.
It's a benefit.
Yeah, and it brings you down to like that nice, calm space, you know.
It's interesting that. I noticed I walk a lot, hiking with my dog and stuff like that, but usually always alone. I don't meet people when I'm up because I don't travel on those busy places.
Yeah.
And I noticed I never go with music or podcast or anything in my ears. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I like to, the thing I do, I watch my dog a lot and I listen. That's the only thing I do. There's a lot on the mountains and the forests, not on roads, but like smaller tracks. And it's like the game me and my dog are playing, like he's signaling something. I can immediately tell by looking at him if there is someone or something around or stuff like that. It's like
it's almost you're in tune with one another as well. Obviously, the dog's giving you signals that it hears something.
Absolutely.
But there is that like aspect of like there's a connection there, you know?
Yeah, it is. And if I'm listening to music and stuff, a lot of people like to walk and listen to music or podcasts and stuff. I can do it, but I lost something with maybe it's the meditation part. I can't like really get into it.
Well, you've got something else distracting you as well, you know, and feeding one more input into you when you don't really need it. It's enough just being present in the woods with the dog, you know.
And the time flies by so fast.
Man.
It's crazy.
Well, it's because you're in that meditative state. That's when it's like you're in a free flow state of just being in a present place, you know.
That was the bizarre thing about when I tested your tank, floating. As I said, I was like maybe not prepared to be in a meditative state and go in there, but it was absolutely incredible when you first closed your eyes and you maybe like 10 minutes I used to like to not be too aware of my breathing, but I had to like regulate it because I have the tendency to get too aware almost of my breathing, and that's all I hear and all I don't like let myself float. But it settled quite fast actually, and the thing I was wondering was like, how far out at sea am I floating now? It's like it felt like I was floating out further and further and further out, like farther and farther away from stuff, because I expected to hit the other side of the tank, because you feel like you're
drifting for ages,
moving, drifting. How big is this space? What is this?
And then you hit the lights, like what the fuck?
Suddenly
this is like a canal. There's like an exit that he like let me like go out and now I'm floating away. Absolutely. And suddenly you just feel a little bit of a touch, and then you can go back
back, and they're like 20 minutes. You feel like you're drifting in the other direction.
Yeah.
But I guess you are moving maybe, but so slow.
So small that it's almost like it's like you're essentially still, you know.
Yeah, and the fact that you have body temperature water, you have the salt, and you have the darkness, and everything. It really sets you in a special mode.
Yeah. It's such a simple concept, but it works so well, man.
Yeah, it does. I figure if you do that a little bit more, if you try it often, I think you can get more from it too. You get like
100%. 100%. Yeah, you get more. Like again, it's like it's the same as the ketamine treatment. Like you can get, like, we've had people that have come in and they've said that this has kind of saved them. You know, just starting this process again, not on its own. Them just taking the time to be with themselves and having these meditative states. Any experience that I've had outside of Norway, because you're not allowed to do anything bad in Norway.
Of course.
Or I wouldn't say it's bad. But any experience that I've had like that, I've experienced through natural states of meditation as well.
Yeah.
The tricky thing with that is that it's a practice like anything else. It's not like you're going to go in and rear naked choke someone the first time you try Jiu-Jitsu. So meditation is the same. It's exercise. You're exercising and molding more control over your mind, so it's not all over the place, you know?
And that's the another thing with you say you like meditation and you just want the best for people, so you try to push it on people. It's almost like a workout. It takes time before you see the progress, but at least in workout you can really easily see, oh, hey, you've been working out.
Exactly.
I guess you have to know you quite well to like feel the difference that the meditation does to you. So for you to like, it's maybe harder to push this because as you said, it takes time. You have to invest in it a little bit.
What I've found over the years, and again, this is not applicable to Jiu-Jitsu, I will bend the ear off and try and convince anyone that's willing to listen to come and do Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But when it comes to meditation, I've learned my lesson, which is you can lead a horse to water, but it's not going to drink, man.
No, of course.
And there's no point in doing it. The best way to do it is to go over and drink yourself, and if it's working well, then that horse is going to come over and inquire what's going on, like what's going on with your life. Like you don't seem like you're ever like that upset or sad or whatever. That's not to say that I'm sitting in a state of ecstasy all the time. Far from it. I've got 2 small children. I'm all over the place.
It's inevitable.
But it's but like with that kind of to have that influence over people, I think it's best just to sit back, do what works for you, and if anyone's intrigued, they'll ask you about it, and then they're more willing to enter into that space like we're talking about, like start to do simple meditation techniques, maybe try the float tank, you know, and start that journey. Like I mentioned, like anything that I've had from a ceremonial, like psychedelic state, I've achieved through meditation. The trouble is that you do need to put in the effort. You do need to like put up with the fact that is really difficult. I've only recently, or I've recently just had this beautiful experience with my mother who's been always open to meditation, but she's never really quite got it. She had one experience where we were on a road trip together, and she's always had a really bad neck when it comes to like driving for extended periods of time. Yeah. And I walked her through this kind of guided meditation, and she dissolved this pain in her neck, and it was really great for her. But she's never really experienced anything really deeper after that, and she's been going through, like everyone else, like life stuff that's been difficult in the last 10 years. And only recently she just called me up and she was like, I got it. I know what you're talking about now. Like, wow. I know what you're talking about. And to like the joy in seeing like your mum's your mum, you know, and seeing her just like this, at this like state of acceptance and peace within herself and love and compassion towards herself when she's been beating herself up for years, and she just got it, and everything she wrote, I was like, she got to that space,
wow,
you know.
That's so cool.
But it takes work, and and it might be years before you get there. So it is about just practicing, and it might not be this transformation overnight, but like if you do keep on practicing it, you can get there, you know. You can have those deeper insights. So like as you mentioned before, being in the tank, and the more you do it on that consistent basis, the more these experiences are going to unfold, where I've had moments in the tank where I've just like these, I wouldn't say childhood traumas, but these memories, like we said at the very start, that I've got no recollection of, that have just kind of arisen when I'm in the tank, and I'm like, oh man, like, and you can probably relate to this, being a father too, that you start to look through these previous experiences, how through the lens of how it would be for your son to experience it, you know?
Yeah.
It's really weird in that way, because you're like, suddenly you're like, okay, like I would have been when this particular thing happened to me, I would have been the same age as my son Lennon.
Yeah,
I would never have wanted him to experience that. That is so hectic right now that to think of him going through something like that, you know?
Then you can see it from another side of it, really.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Us, man, it's weird. Have you ever done this as a father? Where you've just... So I had an experience with... My kids were a lot younger, so it was good. Maybe 5 years ago or something along those lines. Maybe 4, whatever. And driving in the car, and they're causing the ruckus in the back, and I say something, and I'm not even aware I'm saying it as it comes out my mouth, but it's word for word what my dad had said to me as a kid, in the same tone, and nothing, like I wouldn't even have thought of that since I was like a little kid, but it just came out so naturally, and the tone, and it was like I directly embodied the spirit of my father in that moment, and it was a shock. I had to almost pull over the side of the road, because I was like, where did that come from, man?
That's crazy.
That was so deep in like my subconscious, and it's just arisen out of nowhere, man.
So crazy. Nuts. It's like the environment can really shape it. That's like as I told you, I had a stepfather also from I was about 3-4 years old. So I have very good connections with both of them, my father and my stepfather. But I was living with my stepfather, and people we met meant that it said that I looked like him. But I adopted the facial expressions and stuff like that. The thing he said, I said. Like those little quirks you have in... I adopted everything like that. So you actually start to look like him, because you make the same expression and stuff like that. And that's crazy. And as you said, it's... I make the same, like... annoyed noises, like as he did, you know, a typical like some noises that get out, like and I caught my son doing the exact same noise when he was upset. He did the exact same noise. I was like, God damn it. And then you can see how much of an impression you have on those kids.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're picking up everything from us all the time, man. All the good, all the bad, all these moments. It's scary to think about, man, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, I'm from Northern Norway. We have a loose sense of what do you call it? Language and scenarios. We have a rough language over there. We swear a lot, and it's like a cultural thing. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but
well, I'm not aware of it, but I come from the same situation, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So I like use bad words in my daily vocabulary. I do it. Everyone does it where I'm from, and it's like it would be. They don't like kids to swear at school up there either, but I guess it's like maybe more accepted. Or in social settings and stuff like that, you swear a lot. You're not angry, you're not upset. There's nothing. It's just you're spicing up the conversation, and I have a tendency to do that, of course. And my girlfriend already told everybody at school, the teachers, stuff like that, if there's anything coming here, you know whose fault it is. It's the dad. He's from there, so you know. And everybody, I understand. Totally understand.
Then it's fine.
but of course, I don't want him to speak bad when we're outside. Even though I was, we're having dinner, I couldn't hold myself, so I burped like really high. I was like, and he was laughing. Ha 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 ha. I was like, okay, great. Okay. And then we had a confirmation party now recently. Someone turning, you're going to confirmation, to church, everything, and dinner after, stuff like that. What do you think he did? In the fanciest dinner he's ever been to. I was so embarrassed. But, hey, you don't do that. And my girlfriend said, why not? You do it. So I caught him, she caught me. You know why I did that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know why I did that.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. That's not possible, I think.
No.
If you're a father figure or you're... stuff like that, it's not possible.
I I've adopted the philosophy that I let my kids swear in certain scenarios, and I try and like show them that it can be a good use of vocabulary sometimes to give something more depth, or like give it the strength that it needs in certain situations. So they're still a bit too young to know when it's appropriate to do that. But what I'll do is I'll let them swear if it's lyrics in the song. So they're not listening to too much hip hop. So it's not really like, I don't need to like go down that road. But I'll let them listen to Rage Against the Machine, for example. So Killing in the Name Of, I showed my son when Rage were playing on BBC, and they were told strictly like you cannot swear at the end. And then there's that famous, and Zach De La Rosa is just like, he's building it up and building it up. And then I showed my son that, and he's like, that is the best thing I've ever seen. Like like putting your fist up to like the establishment. Fuck the man. So, and I gave him like all like the scenario about that, like what the lyrics really mean, like some of those where the workforces, it's like, so he really kind of got the vibe for it. So then when we play it in the car, the rule is that you can shout that fuck you, I want you to tell me as loud as you want. And my daughter was like, she was very timid about it in the beginning, and me and my son were trying to like build her up the courage to do it. And then like once she got the courage, she's never looked back. She's
That's
like,
so cool. Okay, she's all in.
She's all in, man. She loves it. So she's like, can I put Rage on? Can we put Rage on? I'm like, honey, we can put Rage on.
But you notice every like generation has those bands, those politically fuck the man band. I think we need that. And everybody's talking these days about the bad role models, and you influence the younger generation. You have to do the exact right thing, say the exact right thing. Who were we influenced by? I'm born in 1982. And you got...
I'm 83, just by
and my favorite band was Guns N' Roses. You know, but I sang Guns N' Roses lyrics before I knew what they meant.
There's some dodgy ones in there.
I've been dancing with Mr. Brownstone. You know, I have no idea what I was singing about. You got some good ones there. But that's at least an area where I'm totally agree with you. You should be able, your kids should be able to enjoy and to sing the lyrics of songs at least, because songs are what they are.
Yeah, exactly, man.
You can't what are they gonna skip those words if they're singing?
And they're going to be exposed to it sooner or later, man. We've always adopted the philosophy as parents to be open, to be honest if questions come in. My son had been, I wouldn't say bullied necessarily, but two older kids were coming up and making fun of him because he didn't know what 69 meant. So he comes home from school and asks my wife. So she's like, okay, let's tackle this one. She was like, it's when people have sex but they're opposite each other. She skipped the details, and he was like, of course, ooh.
It wasn't that...
as any self-respecting 10-year-old would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now he's like, that's what he goes around saying. He's like, oh, that's so sus. He calls it suspect,
You keep track of all those slangs and stuff like that?
I try to, man. Like, I see myself as like... I would say my finger on the pulse of like what's going on. In reality, I know that I've got no chance.
You're getting old fast,
right?
Man,
I'm getting older. So I'm not going to be able to keep up. But music-wise, man, like I love a lot of the music that he brings to me, and
that's cool.
There's something, man. There's like anyone. I think that when you really love music, and I love. I mean, I know it's very kind of. Horrible generalization when some people are like, what kind of music? Like, everything. But like, it really is applicable to myself. Like, I'll listen to a lot of different genres, and just love music in general. And when you see, and my daughter's just starting to pick her own songs as well. But I've had it with my son for longer now because he's older. And when he comes and exposes me to like a song that's really good, or if I play something for him, and I'm like, this is objectively a good song, and he's like just digs it straight away and picks up the lyrics straight away. It's like, oh man, that's a high level of joy that
I know.
get
You feel
from
like
that.
you succeeded almost.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
This is it. I did it.
It's like epigenetics, like genetically passed on good taste in music,
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I had like my mom was kind of into rock and stuff like Thin Lizzy, a lot of Queen, stuff like that. So I got that and the boring Norwegian stuff, like Jørn Hoel and, and stuff like that. So I got that from her. I was really early into Guns N' Roses and that scene, Metallica afterwards. And then I almost put back to a little bit more early, like Zeppelin and those kind of stuff. And moved here to my father, and then it was more like biker music, stuff like that. And then I got into blues because of him, also blues and reggae. Actually, it's crazy. I never thought I would listen to reggae, but some of those songs are actually really, really good.
Some great reggae music.
Yeah, I know. There is. So I really got into that stuff, and I hated everything that was on the radio for many, many years. I hated it. Really hated it. I was like,
it's hard not to, man. It's just repetition, It's
but I learned to relax a little bit now. I like, okay, if it's a good song, it's a good song. I don't care who sings it or where it's. Is it on P4? P4? It's okay. You can listen to it if you want. You don't have to shut it off.
No.
I remember.
You don't need to be a music snob all of the time.
No.
I used to have a thing that if someone, even if it was good and I liked it, if someone brought music to me, I needed to find it myself. Or I just couldn't enjoy it the same way as if we listened to another podcast, myself and my wife, and it's an Irish guy, and he loves music, a great musician himself, and just like deep dives into like music history. So we do like an episode on Daft Punk and how they found their song, their sound and stuff like that. Just like really inquisitive and stuff like that. And I completely forgot what I started talking about. Something about music. What was I going to say?
Yeah, you listen to a podcast. There was something about music before that.
Something about music, man. This is what happens when you've got a couple of kids and it starts getting late at night. Your brain just like gives up halfway through a thing. It's like, I'm going to start this. I've recently discovered I've got ADHD as well. I'm pretty sure on it. So then the mind is just like all over the place,
Yeah, my girlfriend just
something about music anyway.
Yeah, something about music. But I'm used to it. I think I got the tendency of ADHD or something like that. I think so. My girlfriend just she's got ADD, I think.
Okay,
So same variant. So something different, I'm not sure. But yeah, it can make stuff with your head. You can be a little bit all over the place.
Oh no, definitely.
She's got a tendency to start something and don't finish that, and she begins with something else over there. Like a total chaos, but she makes it work. It works. But for me, I like, I'm more OCD. I need everything set up. I need, this has to be straight, this has to lie there.
Yeah, you're more like my wife, man. We're on this like a little bit of journey. She's like, we're pretty sure I've got ADHD and she's on the spectrum with a bit of autism as well.
You like to sleep in long?
Yeah, what was that? Sorry, say again.
You like to sleep in the morning, or are you
I've got
up
two
early?
kids. I don't even remember what it was to sleep in. My son wakes up like it's a Disney movie and there's birds chirping around him, excited.
But who's most tired? You and your girlfriend?
Oh, my wife. Like, I live in a fantasy land where I get to train Jiu-Jitsu and stay up late. If I'm late, like if I'm up late, I'll jump in the float tank in the morning and like I live in that. She has provided like the fantasy life for me, so I don't get to complain.
Oh, no.
No.
What's a typical day for you then?
So waking up, so my wife starts early. I'll take the kids to school. They're currently they're in Bartending school, just around the corner from the float centre. So I'll drop them off, then I'll go round to the float centre. I'll clean up the day from the day before, ready for if anyone's going to float. If someone's in for a float and it's someone I know, then I'll jump in at the same time if one of the tanks are available. If it's a new person, then I'll begrudgingly and sit and wait there in case they came out early and wait for my chance to go in for a float.
Yeah, so you hope there's a little possibility.
Exactly. And then after that, 12 o'clock every day. I used to rearrange appointments all the time, so if there was no bookings I would go train, but then I rearranged the opening hours, so we were closed from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. So then I'm at the gym every day and go train from that period, then pick up the kids afterwards, And then it's just a barrage of different activities for my son. I don't know how I'm going to cope when my daughter starts having activities as well. You know, it's like it's gonna be problematic. But he's got football training twice a week, and then a game, and then he's got jiu-jitsu practice and jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff, and then all the other school activities. So then it's like normally just doing something along those lines, and then hit the sack and do it all again. But it's good, man. It's like it's a nice little regular schedule system that works very well for me.
That's cool.
So yeah, man. So that's like an average kind of day. Just a bit of training, bit of floating, speaking to people at the center. I feel really lucky and privileged to see people coming in like pretty stressed out, and then it's so rewarding just seeing them coming out, and you can see the shift in their overall well-being. Like they're just like so much calmer. You give them a cup of tea, they'll have a chat. And
it's really a soothing environment in there.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure. We'll
let your shoulders down.
Get my dog there, so I take her over to the park and let her run around when people float. It's good, nice, relaxing environment, and people are so open. Like it's such a privilege to be able to be in that position and see people come out and be so vulnerable but secure in the vulnerability, because this space feels safe to them, and just open up about things that are going on in their life, and they're so sharing. It's like because it's almost like you come out, like when you've had one of these deeper transcendental floats, you come out kind of almost high from it, you know. You're so elated and like wanting to talk and share. That's one of the newer float centers in town. They've it's a guy from Arundel, and he's opened up a self-service float center, so it's almost like a solarium. So you just go in, and it kind of like, I don't get it personally, you know, because you need to go in, you need to figure everything out on your own. Hygiene can be a bit, I mean, people leave the rooms in a mess, you know, and there's no one's cleaning it. You know what a solarium looks like? People don't clean up after themselves. So anyway, I mean, not to talk bad about his business, but I mean, one of the biggest factors for me is like that people can have these really deep experiences where they come out and they actually, you can see when someone needs a hug afterwards, or they need a cup of tea and a chat with someone before they go back into the world, you know.
Or just sit there, like
just sit there and contemplate, read a book. We've got heaps of books in the back, and like just like a nice place where you feel like you can chill out and relax just for a little bit, collect your thoughts and stuff, and more importantly, like have someone there to talk to if you need them. So it's like I really don't get that concept of having a unmanned float center, and then also just dangerous as well, because you get a lot of people that want to experiment, and they come in, and we don't judge anyone if they come after a few shots and some beers. But I mean, if someone's had one too many shots, you probably don't want to put them in a saltwater tank where they can potentially drown or something. You know?
Of course, like, and you can.
So it's a bit irresponsible in that sense.
Maybe get a couple of people in there. Suddenly, you never know.
You're feeling a little bit frisky. You don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, and I really enjoyed the part talking to you, get the introduction, and you know, like it's okay. There's people there too, and I can just bail and go out, sit if I feel uncomfortable and stuff like that. So no, it was perfect. I think maybe you need people there on site.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like more than just a physical experience. It's a little bit more than that.
Definitely.
I would at least say to everybody who didn't try it, at least just being weightless, floating in the salty water is like a really bizarre, cool, fun experience. I never did it.
It's
before.
very unique, man. It's like
unique,
unless you've been at the Dead Sea, like where are you going to live, experience something like that? I mean, maybe who knows how cheap it's going to get with Elon Musk and old Bezos flying people into the stratosphere and up above it. You know, it's like maybe we get to experience weightlessness up there, but I'm guessing the float tank is going to be the more affordable.
I would go for
version.
The float tank, for now, at least before I get to be an astronaut. I think chances are a lot higher. I will experience it.
Exactly, man. And man, I can feel like you're up in space sometimes. Like that first time I was in there, like I was seeing stars and hallucinating. People who have like synesthesia where they're seeing colors appear. Like I get that on the regular, and you've got like it's difficult to explain, but it's almost like an emotion that's connected to the color. So it's like this symbolism that starts to appear and stuff. So it's like it's pretty cool, man.
Maybe there's something in that stuff too. I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah. It's a clinical psychological condition that people have synesthesia, where they see colors and they have that connection to it.
Maybe if you just set yourself in the right state, you can pick up of maybe some fractions of stuff that people are talking about that you know, maybe can do the extraordinary or experience stuff we can't. A lot of people tell maybe if you change your state a bit, you can like have a little bit of taste of that. Maybe you can relate to some of it. Maybe there's something into that.
I fully think so, man. We definitely, I think we're limited to the extent of what we perceive, and I think the way we've evolved and this fight or flight kind of frontal cortex way of processing our environments, which has gotten us this far. I feel like through these different psychedelic states and through meditation, where we can open up our ability to perceive reality as it is, you know, or a version of it. Yeah.
It's incredible. I'm very glad I got to experience it.
Yeah, man. You guys need to come back after no booze next time. And
yeah. I'm actually planning on bringing my girlfriend there. I think she would really love it. She's also very open to this kind of stuff and into meditation and yoga.
Yeah.
And I think this would be great for her too. So maybe a little. You see us both there.
Yeah.
So
cool,
bring Mattis and his girlfriend too.
Exactly.
We'll make a day out of it. Maybe not too much Mexican food and drinks before.
No. Hold back on that. We got lucky one time. I don't want to get unlucky the next time.
I got lucky that one time. So
my ADHD brain just remembered why I mentioned the Irish podcaster. It was about it's got no relevance anymore, but here it is. It's about not judging how he so heavily judges music, like you were saying in the past when you're younger, and now just being open to like whatever kind of music that's exposed. Like we fall into these traps so many times of just like judging something straight away, man. It's like and it limits you to what you could potentially like, you know. And it's definitely something to that when you're younger. Like it was almost like a social currency that you had when you were younger, like finding a really good band and like telling your friend about it.
I love this.
Oh man, it was the bomb. It was the best to do that. And then when they vibe on it too, like, but you've lost all that shit with Spotify now. Like it's almost like you've just got too much. It's like you've exposed to too much. It's like you said when you were going into the CD shop or the album, and you're just like almost just judging something on the basis of the artwork on the cover,
did,
you know,
because you couldn't look it up either, like on Google.
No, and that's like, and basically that was the album for that month. That's all you could afford, and you need to do a deep dive into like exploring the whole thing, you know.
And it was album art, and you always opened up. You read the lyrics, and you had some photos in there.
I've done that little hobby recently as well, or like a few years back. I started buying records again, but it's so much process sitting down, and when you've got the kids, man, it's so time consuming to go over and like switch it over and stuff. You rarely get the time to just sit down and actually like chill for the whole evening, listen to some records.
That's a long time I did that. I think just listening to records.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I got recently a record player actually. So I should definitely go into that. It's something different.
It's a different experience, man.
It is.
Get some like long like chords on a headphone and just sitting with the albums and looking through the artwork and stuff. It's good, and it's a good way to actually like support your band, like bands that you enjoy, you know, because they're not getting money from anything else apart from live gigs these days, you know.
Oh, you have to be on Instagram, and you have to. I guess the touring part is really big now for these guys. That's what they.
Well, now the record companies are stealing money off that as well. I mean, that used to be where they would make their money on top of like the album sales as well. But now there's no money coming from that. The record companies want a big portion of the pie of the live gigs as well, man. It's hard times to be a musician.
But it seems like it's coming back a little bit, the merch and CD stuff and things like that. People are finding back to it again, and I'm glad. I'm really supportive of the musicians, artists stuff like that. I got to know now so many good people, talented people here, from art to music and stuff. I would never talk to them if it wasn't for this podcast, and made me appreciate a lot more people.
Well, that's the joy of doing these podcasts. Like I mentioned before, me and a friend, we done one. I mean, we never came so far. We done about 20 episodes, but it's so fun just to put the phone down, engage in the conversation, be present there, really listen to the other person, because it's there's so many interactions in day-to-day lives, in everybody's day-to-day lives. You're rarely getting someone that's actually giving you their full attention, and not even the phone aside, just people that they don't have a healthy mind, where they're just like their mind's all over the place. They can't focus, and obviously all these these videos and reels and stuff are limiting our ability to focus as well. So like when you do actually sit down to have a conversation, man, it's like it's a really nice way to communicate.
It is. I told you before we started, I think that I spend a lot of time with this, a lot of my free time. So this is one of the things that gives me the energy back, I feel, and the motivation and everything. Okay, not every day is as cool, and you have to sit down and edit a video. Maybe you don't really want to do this, but I know tomorrow I'll be able to do it. It just gives me so much back.
How many episodes in the editing process, or maybe you're not even there yet, have you accepted listening to the sound of your own voice?
Oh.
Are you not there yet?
No. Yeah, actually, I think I am. I think I am now. It was kind of cringy in the start.
Oh man, it's brutal.
But it
so
took like tens of episodes. It was done in a couple of episodes. No. Now I think I can like cringe a little bit just in the start when I started on. And I push play, but it fades away. And it's I don't bother. I don't bother. I say so much stupid thing.
And it's good as well, because that's how you progress as well, because you realize, okay, I was completely speaking over him at that point, or I could have made a smoother segue to this or whatever. And that's how you're going to learn, just listening back and going through the procedure, because it's an art to conversation for sure.
Yeah, it is absolutely an art, and it's difficult if you don't do it.
No.
It's this is how this started too. It was like we were three guys. It was COVID just started, and you're starting to get lonely, and when we ever met, we just like hang around on the phone. I tried to speak to someone, and I got like 10 seconds, and then the head went down, and I did it too. So
it's so easy, man. It's so easy to do. So I'll catch myself sometimes at the Float Center. I go on because I need to do a task. I need to be on Instagram because it's for the business. And I go on to do one thing. There's a purpose for what I'm doing, and then I'll catch myself like 15 minutes later, and I'm like, I can't remember why I picked it up in the first place, man. It's like, it's so addictive.
You know what I did the other day? I caught myself, and I hated myself for it. It's just a little thing, but I was watching a YouTube video on my TV, and the commercial got up, Oh no, 15 seconds. oh my God, my life is over. No, I got reels. So I took up my phone to kill those 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And before I know it, the YouTube video was done over. I was like 15 minutes down in this rabbit hole, and I didn't even know what I was watching at YouTube.
No.
So
I can't even
lost
go back on it, man.
Remember, think how much you lose on a daily basis just by that focus. I just realized I lost half a YouTube video. I didn't even know I was watching it. It took 10 seconds into this little rabbit hole. So if you operate like this on a regular basis every day in your interactions and stuff like that, I think you lose a lot of things.
Oh no, for sure, man, for sure. I don't think we fully comprehended the effect that this was going to have as when old Mark Zuckerberg was inventing Facebook and stuff. Like, I don't think I mean, how could we have known? How could we have known it was going to go down this road? I mean, there's no conspiratorial aspect for me around it. I think it's just innovation, and innovation is always going to run further ahead.
It's evolving.
Then you can regulate it, and it's at such a fast pace now. It's impossible to regulate it. You can't keep up with it because the next thing's coming along.
Yeah.
Have you seen those glasses with the Apple glasses? It's not the VR, the AR, augmented reality glasses.
Yeah, I never tested it, but
no, I've not. I've only seen the video recently. Like, but looks like that's going to be something else, man. You're going to be sitting talking to people and they've got these big goggles. Like, where are we going with this, man?
But maybe I hope we evolve as well, and our kids maybe will be more capable of separating these things. And maybe accept them and separate them. I don't know. You know, I'm gonna pull a Rogan. I have to pee.
You have to pee.
I have to pee. Wanna wrap this up?
We could wrap up, man. My phone has been buzzing. It's been on silent.
Really?
So I don't know. I've got a whole mystery of buzzes that have been on. I'm guessing from my missus. We do this one thing where we talking about social media, which is a kind of nice thing that we do. We send different videos, funny videos to each other, and then we just save them up, but then watch them together and just laugh our asses off. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So it's probably just heaps of videos that she's sending me. I'm hoping it's not an emergency. But dude, this has been exactly. There you go. There we go. First sound effect. But dude, thank you so much, man. This has been absolute pleasure. It's been so fun to sit down and with the mic in front again. I forgot how much fun it actually was. So
maybe you'll get back into it.
You never know, man. Like I said before we started, my friend just bought the same setup as you, and he's gonna be stepping down that pathway as well. So maybe I'll be appearing every now and again on his. So.
Yeah, do it.
And for any listeners that want to come and try a float tank and are interested in sense deprivation, by all means, just reach out. You can follow us on Floating Oslo on Instagram. And any listener that wants to come and try from this pod, then they'll get 50% off their first try. So basically just book, and when you come in, just mention that you listen to this podcast, and you'll get 50% off.
Perfect.
Cool.
That's really good, and I really recommend it. I'm not the guy who
not the shots, not the Mexican food.
No,
avoid some caffeine. Avoid the Mexican food.
Absolutely.
Come nice and calm. You'll have a good time for sure.
And it was Ranienborggata 25.
Ranienborgveien 25. Yeah.
I almost got it.
That's a mouthful for a Scotsman. Ranienborgveien 25. Yeah. Took me a while to get that down.
So cool talking to you, man.
Brother, thanks so much, man.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.